Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another rousing rendition of the BREADren Podcast. I'm AJ Woodson, and we got another cocktail convo. Like we said, we're keeping up with Women's History Month. So we lining up a lot of convos with brilliant women that we know and love. And today is no different. I have a fellow Tuskegee alum, entrepreneur and educator. Both of those are really important. We're going to talk about each one moving forward. But we got Miss Stevie Rae Hicks with us today. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
No problem. You literally were the second person that came to mind, and we've had a few combos through message before, and getting some stuff together. And this is perfect time to really start the combo in terms of everything, because I've watched you from afar of what you're doing, and it's I got a lot of questions for myself, period, just to kind of to get into it. But before we get started, like we always do, we cheers to a wonderful conversation, gems being dropped, crumbs being dropped, and people can pick them up. Cheers.
Okay, I have my kombucha. Can I cheers to that? It's fermented.
Of course you can. I heard kombucha give you a little bit of something too.
Yeah, a little some.
I gotta try it. But yeah, so you've entrepreneur and educator, and I'm gonna get in that, but a little bit at our first episode that we did this season. I keep saying we. Shout out to my co-host Dr. Jamu Lovin, PhD, CFP, and Mr. Destrian Wells of D Wells Consulting. But we did an episode about legacy. And I know legacy means a lot to you and your family, particularly because majority of your family, if I'm not mistaken, went to Tuskegee, right? And I think your grandparents moved there, or were they already there?
They moved there from LA. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that legacy portion of it, how much of that ties into what you currently do?
It's the sole purpose, because although this business is for me, I was inspired by my children, Sam Cole, which is Sammy and Kobe, and they are the main inspiration or driving force behind why I get up and hustle every day for a House of Hicks or Sam Cole by Hicks.
I like how you said that, because that brings me to the segue into the next portion, because you said Sam Cole by Hicks and House of Hicks, and you've also got The Energy Incorporated. So you got three businesses running right now. So define each one for me so that we don't intermingle. I know they all kind of they go together,
right.
But define each one for me.
Okay, so House of Hicks is a service. That's when I provide service. It's the intersection between entrepreneurship and healthy mental and emotional space. And then there's Samco by Hicks. That's the retail that's basically still have the air about mental and emotional space, but Black culture, Black women, especially literature, art, energy, all of that great things. And then you have the Energy Incorporation, which is the inner greatness. And that's basically providing providing programs through partnerships and events for mental and emotional wellness for Black and Brown. And I have to say Black and Brown because that space will be open, not just for Black people, but for people, Hispanic people, because I was the only Black person growing up on my block in LA. So and me being a teacher now in Montgomery, and it's a big population, I wouldn't feel right if I didn't add that and Brown. So, yeah.
Most definitely. So one of the points that I wanted to talk with you about is, because from my point of view, I've seen your setup at some of the pop-ups that you've done, and your setup is very, very, very intentional. Because if you didn't have your setup the way that you have it set up, some people might just think you just sell books, but you've truly done a job of I would say taking like a food truck concept, but a food truck that also creates a restaurant environment in front of the food truck where like your bookstore, your retail side, you don't know that you're not in like your space. Like, you know, for a fact that you've like stepped into another space. So talk a little bit about the intentional aspect of what you were doing. One of the words that one of our charge words for this year is intention. So just because I know that wasn't just like, you know, I'm gonna do a pop-up, let me get my little banner and boom, like you got the fence, the plants, like it's a whole setup. And definitely for people who have not seen it, we're gonna give out the Instagram in the description. Go look on their Instagram, their Facebook page, the website. It's a beautiful setup. But talk about the intention of that setup.
Okay, so let's keep it 100. When I first did my first pop-up, I had a trailer. I did have my trailer because the whole idea was to have a store on wheels. And then, so my first pop-up, I just had a little trailer, table. I didn't even have a tent, so I was outside baking. But I had joined an organization called Buy From a Black Woman. And she kept saying, make sure you provide an experience. Make sure you provide an experience. So I'm like, okay, how can I provide an experience? And I kept thinking about, well, this is how I want my store to look. This is how I want my customers to feel. So I just made sure, growing up in Los Angeles again, I grew up in Leimert Park, well, close to the Leimert Park area, where it's all about Black culture, Black energy, Black art. Like that's what I know. So, knowing that move, that I don't know, I just wanted people, when they stepped in Samco by Hicks, I was providing an experience that put them in energy, art, you know, atmosphere, and I want them to feel it. I want them to feel it. I want them to know, you know, next time you come back, you know, you're going to get the same type of energy, if not better, each time.
Right.
So
that like your setup is, number one, it's inviting and it's eye catching. And it really, you know, it does set you apart in those environments. And I can, you know, I'm in New York, but like I said, I've seen your setup and I know I know a lot of the pop-ups that you've been a part of. And I just know that there's probably not anybody else there that just creates a space like you're creating. And, you know, I definitely want to give you your props on that, because that your setup definitely does aid to the mental health and awareness aspect of it, because it's an inviting place. Like, it looks like a relaxing oasis in kind of like this chaotic space of just retail and buying and vendors. But it's like, this place looks like, okay, I can go over here and kind of like gather my thoughts and find something that's going to help me mentally and emotionally. So I definitely want to give you your props on that.
Thank you.
So your setup got the attention of H&M, and you're in Alabama right now with what you're doing. But you were invited to New York City to set up inside of H&M in Times Square. I don't even know the question to ask. Maybe like how, not even how it happened, but like what was your first initial thought once you realized? Because I'm pretty sure that even if it was a contest or voting or something, it had to be like different stage. And it's like, okay, you make it past the first stage, which is 1 out of 1 million people. Then you make it to the next stage and it's 1 out of 10,000. But like, just knowing, you know, that you're part of this process and like, okay, you know, I'm putting my cards out there, and then finding out your cards are the one that's pulled and you're in H&M in Times Square. Hopefully everybody understands like the magnitude of that. But what was your initial thoughts in terms of when you found out that, you know, you needed to be a part of it?
Well, again, I'm real big on networking. So when I did Buy From a Black Woman, let's start. Buy From a Black Woman is an organization for women, Black women in businesses. It provides spaces and challenges as well as experiences such as H&M. So my first pop-up event that everybody where I had that picture of my setup, that was an H&M event. I actually asked before. I was following the founder, Miss Nikki, and I was following her, and when I want something, I just look for it, and I keep looking at it, and that's almost to the point that I won't stop till I get it. So I just kept paying attention to her posts. So when we had a meeting, one-on-one meeting, she has these things called office hours where you get to speak with her and her team for about 30 minutes. And I was talking to her and I was like, I just got to ask, can I be a part of the H&M pop-up for the summertime? And she was like, yeah, I mean, this is why this is here. Da, 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 da. So that led me to meet people, get my brand out there. And then fast forward to October, they were having a holiday market in December. And that's when I asked again. And it was only for the women that was a part of the Buy From a Black Woman organization. And I asked, and of course, during that time, it had to be a little bit more curated and they had to handpick who they would want. But I was chosen and it led from there. And then I was just like, okay, I have to make something specifically for H&M and da, 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 da. But it was a challenge, but we got through. Even getting down there, we literally had to do like a round trip. It was just a lot because, we have kids, we have babies. It was just a lot, but we made it work.
Yeah, definitely. I was, it's not a lot of people that get their work or their ideas or anything that they've created into what everybody considers the big box retailers, big stores. So it's definitely an accomplishment, and it definitely I would say just lends to the fact that you're doing something right. You're doing a lot of things right, actually, not even just one thing. You're doing a lot of things right. But yeah, your persistence that you talked about in terms of like you just asked. We definitely like to remind people how closed mouths don't get fed. If you sometimes all it takes is just, hey, can I do this? And asking, you shall receive.
Right.
But I would consider you a bibliophile, someone who just loves books. Obviously, you're an educator and teaching in the school system, so that's also as part of it. But in terms of what you do now with your retail aspect, you sell paper, hard copies of books in this very, very digital age where everybody's, downloading Audible and everybody's got Kindle. And, we went from having physical like Kindles to everybody just, pulls up books on their phones or their tablets and whatever. And so just talk a little bit about the intent of, staying true to the originals, like I'm going to sell books, because a lot of people would consider, like a bookstore, and I don't want to, just call what you do a bookstore, but a lot of people consider just that concept, that portion of it, like who still buys books, when in fact, there is, it's kind of like a dying market, they would say, but so if it is there's the opening for what you do. But kind of talk about the decision-making process of going like, this is going to be definitely a part of it.
Well, I've been selling books since I was 5 years old. Okay. I mean, honestly and truly, I've been a hustler since I was 5. You can catch me somewhere between 5 years old and 12 years old and 16 years old selling something, right? Even when I wasn't necessarily supposed to. So when I was 5 years old, I sold my mama's books on our front lawn. And I even sold a signed Toni Morrison copy. And I didn't know, my whole goal was to get more books for me because I grew up in a house with readers. So my mom is an avid reader. And from there, I remember, just at that time, I wanted to make more money, but it was because I wanted more books. So now fast forward to me being in my 30s and I have a store, and it first started off with enamel lapel pins. Mm-hmm. And I remember looking at my coworker one time and I was just like, one day, and I was just like, you know what? I'm going to start selling books because you know what? As an educator, an English educator, you notice that people are not reading. Not like they used to.
Right.
And I'm not talking about people my age. I'm talking about young children are not reading. They actually turn their noses up at books. So I was like, I'm about to make this the new cool thing again. I'm about to make it hot. Homegirls read, the homeboys be reading. We all read it. And on top of us just reading, we're engaging. We're it's a lot of people out there that really like to read the hard copy. Like it's a thing. And you know what? I even did my research. Books A Million ain't losing no money. Barnes and Noble is not losing any money because at the end of the day, it's the experience they're providing. So that ties back into my setup. I wanted to make sure when I provide an experience or whatever services I offer, I could tie that into the whole experience. So that's what I wanted. I wanted people to know that, you know, I'm your book pusher. I'm your pen pusher. Whatever you need, I got in it. As long as it has anything to do with literature or arts, I'm here, or health, you know, whether it's mental, physical, whatever I can provide. But it has to be in, you know, an alignment of what I'm doing. So books was just it.
And I think that's dope how, you know, the educator in you notice the needs. My wife's a teacher too. She teaches fifth grade. And I come from a family of educators. My mom's been in education for years. My grandfather, aunts, uncles. So, you know, I understand, you know, that portion of coming from a household or households where you walk in and everybody got an encyclopedia set. There's a bunch of books and, you know, at a young age, you're picking up a book that's, you know, full of college calculus or algebra. And you just, you know, because you like the books, and you brought up a good point about just liking the feel of a book. I'm one of those people that, you know, I'm digital as ever, but I can't get with reading on a screen. I just can't. Like, it irks me. I'll do an audio book. And I've even gotten to the point now where I think that I want the audio book with the physical copy, and then I just let it like read to me while I follow along. That way I don't know, but and plus, you know, we come from that generation of, you know, Pizza Hut and Book It, where it's like, if you was reading, you was getting them free pizzas. And that was
right.
And outside of that, there were a lot of summer reading program lists and things that, you know, you got in school that incentivized reading. So it made it cool, and it kind of just disappeared. So definitely, you know, kudos to you for kind of bringing that back. And as an educator, realizing that that's kind of, you know, not kind of, that is what's missing, and trying to do that.
If I could just say this real quick, it's important. And I hope that, you know, when we share this with this podcast, that parents, the homies, whomever, understand that we still need to read while it's still legal. Like, it's imperative that we understand that they're banning books. Like books as simple as To Kill a Mockingbird. They're banning books that we were raised on. And all that reasons why I really feel like if the kids were handicapped before, imagine now. So we really need to press the issue. Like, my thing for anything that's regarding like my book club or anything like that, read while it's still legal. And that's, I'm sticking to that. We have to, or we're going to be, what's that? Have you ever read that book or seen that movie Fahrenheit 451?
I didn't see that one. I saw.
I taught the story about 2 years ago. I just, for some reason, it's just the title's escaping me, but we're going to get to that point where it's not going to be a thing anymore. It's going to be illegal. So that's important to me.
Yeah, most definitely. Because, you know, like you said, a lot of the books that we read in, you know, middle school, I didn't realize until recently, because the conversation has kind of been sparked up, obviously, with social media, where people are like, oh, they're banning books. And I'm like, you know, we read Coffee Will Make You Black in like 6th, 7th grade.
Yes.
Well, you know, should we have? I don't know, maybe not, but not, you know, books like that are banned now. They can't have them in the library at all. And that was another thing. It was like, there was, you know, the books that we were given in class to kind of read about, but then you go to the library and read anything that was there. And the library had every book. So, you know, that was kind of the thing, is like I'm one of those kids where every summer, like I said, family of educators, my uncle took us to my grandparent, like the library near my grandparents' house. got me and my sister library cards. And every day we were required to go to the library for at least an hour. And number one was because that's what he was doing. He was going to the library and he would sit down. He's going to go read him 3 books in an hour. So he like, y'all gonna go sit down. So, you here in the library. And when you're in the library, this is 90. So internet ain't popping like that.
Right.
You play some Oregon Trail or something on the computer, but you're gonna get in these books. Eventually that's what you're gonna have to do. So reading became a thing that if you weren't an avid reader, everybody kind of read. So I definitely appreciate educators like yourself, and then you also have the entrepreneurial platform that you have now, where it's still being pushed by that same force of read while it's legal, because it's definitely being kind of, not even kind of, it's very in your face, like, Black books, books that show certain themes of progress and prosperity. They don't want you reading, and they cutting a lot of stuff out, sugarcoating. They doing more than sugarcoating. They putting icing on it, washing it off, and then putting icing on it again. And it's like, oh yeah, everybody was an indentured servant, that kind of thing. But
right.
So as much as the persistence, is on their part, we got to be even more persistent, especially with our youth. And we're all about community here when those aspects. So we definitely will help you in any way that we can to keep pushing forward with that, because it's definitely something to preserve. Right. So a little bit more on the entrepreneurial side. Like I said, from afar, your family is also, you come from a family of educators and entrepreneurs as well. And you also been hustling since the age of 5. So it's kind of, you've answered the question, but I'm gonna ask you the question again, is in a different form, is how important was it for you to, do the entrepreneurial thing? Because, obviously you're an educator. I'm from Alabama, so I know educators in America, period. Unless we're going to start paying them, like doctors like they do over in the Netherlands and Norway and Finland, y'all are always underpaid. And all of the educators I know do it for the love. Y'all are part of that group of, quote unquote unsung heroes. A lot of you, that have their children's best interests at heart, because real educators embrace their students as their own. They always will, always have. That's been my experience with, 80% of my teachers, in my lifetime. Obviously I'm part of what I consider a privileged group. I grew up in Tuskegee, so all my teachers were Black, whole system's Black. But obviously Tuskegee is history. So I check my privilege with that when I, because everybody doesn't come from that. But then, like yourself, you come from a family of educators. But how important was it to say, okay, I'm going to continue doing education, but I gotta do this thing on the side, and then knowing, from a point, this ain't just gonna be my side hustle. This is thing, because I tell people now, like people like you're a full-time entrepreneur, a full-time mom, and a full-time educator. Just because some people may think, oh, you up from 2 to 4 in the morning, putting in work on your business, that's 2 and 4 in the morning. If the kids sleep, you should be asleep, so them 2 hours should honestly be doubled and tripled for entrepreneurs. But talk about the intentionality of, saying, I'm going to do this thing, and how important it was for you to do that.
Well, I'm the only educator in my family. My grandparents are, what I consider serial entrepreneurs, and my dad has always had a hustling spirit. So that combination allowed me to see the ins and out of holding or having your own business. But honestly, I think what pushed me to say I want to have my own business is I've always wanted to have my own business. Entrepreneurship is not necessarily for everybody, just like working a 9 to 5 is not for everyone. So I just know that I hate to use the word bossy because it can have a negative connotation to it, but I know what I want. I know how I want it done. And I'm very good at delegating. I remember when I was in high school, every organization, like I was a cheer captain. And then I used to ski. I was a part of a lot of, like, I was on a swim team, and I've always held some type of office where I was a leader in some format. So that just carried over to when I just, had children. I was just like, you know what? I can't take orders for the rest of my life. I have to fulfill my own passion, and I have to do that in the, with my own business. And I think that's just where it came about. Let me tell you, when I first started House of Hicks, I did not expect for me to start doing after I became pregnant with my son. I didn't even expect to get pregnant. I was really focused on, okay, I want a business. But then I got pregnant, so I pushed that back. And then after I had him, I was sitting around trying to figure out what can I do. Initially, I wanted to do a tutoring. I wanted to have my own daycare. I wanted to tutor. But I know I looked at my husband and said, if we get pregnant again, I'm not about to have nobody daycare, or I can't continue to tutor. I just can't do this. It's too much. And that same year, it was 2020, beginning of 2020, and I found I was pregnant. And I looked at my husband and I was just like, I can't do this. I can't have a daycare. I can't tutor. It's just too much for me. And I had a really bad pregnancy, because not only was I pregnant, I was going through postpartum depression, really, really bad. Really, really bad. Like, people don't even understand. I had a cardiac ablation. I had gastro issues. I was literally having really bad anxiety, really bad depression. Like, it was bad. I was going to the hospital literally every weekend. It was bad. But I needed something. I needed something. And I looked at my husband and he looked at me. He said, why don't you just sell something? And I was like, I don't want to just sell anything. I gotta be connected to it. I have to have something I want to do. So I started, still going through my postpartum depression. I looked at some enamel pens that I had because I started collecting them. And I was like, maybe I should sell enamel lapel pens. Why not? And from there, I just took off, and it has been my saving grace. Like, if someone was to ask me to quit my job or quit my business, I would have to choose my business. Honestly, if someone said you only could do one, I would be so devastated, because it's so much a part of me. It has been a savior in a sense, it's really, it's sacred to me, it has saved me, honestly. So yeah, that is why I continue to do what I do. That is why I just started this business during the peak of the pandemic, while going through postpartum depression at 7 months pregnant, while still having to raise a 1.5-year-old little boy.
I appreciate your transparency on that. And,
yeah.
That's one of the big reasons why we wanted to have, like, we've always had women on for Cocktail Convo, but this month I said, we're focusing, because things like that don't get the time that it should, and we know why. So we definitely wanted to be the opposite of that, because postpartum depression is very real. And I'm glad that you found something. So this was as much for you as it, as it was for other people. Like, and that's one of the things that, with people and their passions, is some people have a passion and it's not necessarily to be shared with other people because it's literally for them. But, when it is, I definitely think the world should take the appreciation and not take it for granted that people like you have taken something that's their passion for themselves and are able to share it in a way and be very intentional about it. So thank you for that. And I can't do this without saying shout out to your husband, one of the original 4-6 boys. So shout out to Mr. Hicks.
Yeah.
But you mentioned something, and we kind of jumped over it. But you now have 2 children, both under 5, correct?
Both under, well, 3 and 1. Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys,
And I'm still nursing.
yeah. So we only got one. My wife stopped nursing at right at 2 years old because the pandemic happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then my wife caught COVID, so she had to stop nursing. That's literally how we weaned Avery off. She was forced to not be able to for
Right.
7 to 10 days. So
Right.
so you're still nursing, you're running a business, education, and we're not in, we're quote unquote not in COVID anymore because everything's back to normal, where every education is now back face to face and all of this. And you're running a business and you're a wife, mom, everything else, sister, a daughter, granddaughter. How?
I
I'm
don't
not advised
know.
how do you do it? It's just how.
I honestly couldn't tell you how. I honestly couldn't tell you what keeps me going or anything. I just know that if I stop House of Hicks, I wouldn't know what I would do. I don't know. People ask me that all of that time, and I think my love keeps me going. My passion keeps me going. Like you said, I'm intentional about what I want, my drive. I'm very ambitious. I'm very determined. I know what I want. So I don't think I'm going to stop till I get it. But how do I do it? I'm trying to figure that out. I mean, I'm being honest and
Truthfully.
Case in point, just before we got hopped on, I was at Home Depot trying to, because I don't want to expose what I'm trying to do, but it's something new with House of Hicks. But I was basically giving my husband another project. But I think about stuff and I'm like, okay, that's what I want. Like, sometimes I'll sit on it and I have some really bomb women. Shout out to my homegirl, Michelle. She's Bailey's Daisies. She's another entrepreneur from LA. And we talk a lot. Also to my homegirl, Boss Moms Enterprise. So I'm talking to them. And sometimes if I have questions about something, I'll call them up and be like, what you think? Especially if I'm not sure, because I could be very obsessive to the point that I'm like, I'm going to get it. I thought about it. Boom. But then sometimes I use my homegirls to be like, just bring me back here. So I'll probably sit on something for 2 weeks. But after 2 weeks, it's either mine or it's not. And I keep it pushing because I'm very determined. I know what I want. I stand on it. And I owe that to my mom and my grandmother. I owe that to my mom and my grandmother. I have some really dope women in my life. Some really dope women in my life. I do. My cousin Sade. She has her own business, Barefoot Therapist, the Mahogany Project. I have some really dope women. My cousin Cicely. A matter of fact, come to think about it, all of us are doing something. My cousin Cicely, which is Sade's little sister, she owns Too Chill Tea and the Quirky Mac. So I got some really dope people in my life too that keep me going. So it's not just me, although I could say that I'm this, that, and the other. And I do believe that I am determined and I am very powerful and all of that. But I cannot say I'm doing this on my own. My husband is my muscle. Like anytime I need something, anytime he's always there, like always. Like if you're going to catch me, you're going to catch my husband. Now, if he's not working, it's me and the kids, and we be out there hustling. And then, of course, my advice, I already told you, my committee of homegirls and family. So, yeah, that's what keeps me going.
Most definitely. And I appreciate you bringing that point up where, it does really takes a village to raise a child, but it takes a village to just maintain and keep going.
Yes.
There ain't nobody. I think I said this when I did with my previous conversation with my homegirl Yvonne, or either on the episode about legacy. But I was just like, ain't nobody did it by themselves. There is nobody who did it by themselves. And anybody who says they did is selfish.
Yeah.
Because there is no way. You're going to have to talk to somebody else. You're going to have to ask somebody else for something. It's just I'll say it, it's impossible. So definitely shout out to everybody that has helped you. It's, especially, matter of fact, I got to hit up DJ, to hit up Sade, because we had her on for a Motivational Monday for one of our groups. It's like just the way that she talks about what she does. Very passionate,
Dope. She dope.
Super dope. And
dope.
Like literally I can I never turn the sound on, but when I'm scrolling and she pop up, I'm like, what dance she gonna do today? Because it's, in itself, it puts a smile on my face.
Right.
And that's part of why she does what she does. But then when she was talking with us, just explaining how she talks to her clients and things and of that nature, it was just like, she loves what she does. And having passionate Black women in your life, positive Black women in your life, just, it does something for you. So Black men particularly, keep positive and passionate Black women around you and lift them up as well, because it does wonders for the ecosystem that is us, the community that is us. You just do it. I can't explain it. It just happens, and it happens organically. And that's one of the beautiful parts about it. So last question that I want to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
You said at the beginning that you wanted to, obviously your children, and one of the entities, Sam Cole, is named after both of them. And obviously that had to wait until the Sam part came. You had it already?
I already had it before she was born. It started because although House of Hicks LLC, it was registered, but I didn't do nothing with LLC. I created a trademark, which was the retail part, and it was Samco by Hicks, and I was 7 months pregnant.
Ah, okay.
I already knew.
See, that's the behind the scenes. All right. So obviously, you've got a 3 and a 1 year old, but I can already tell that they're, at least the 3-year-old is probably already just like actually reading books. But the importance of passing this along and instilling in them this piece of passing it along for others, because that's also the big portion of, like, everybody can be like, oh, I'll teach my kid to read, and hopefully everybody else doing it. But I come from one of those, communities where you went to everybody else's house and they also had books. And it was, you ain't have too many friends. I ain't have too many friends that just wasn't, if you weren't on the AB honor roll, I might couldn't come to your house, if we'd be honest, like that kind of thing. Like, we got to know your mom and your daddy. Oh, both your mom and daddy educators too. Oh, okay. We know your homework will get done while you over there, that type of thing. So the importance of instilling these same values that you've lamented on this whole time: persistence, balance, being intentional, having a passion for things. How important it is for you to pass this on to your children, and them also, passing it on and creating that actual legacy. Because honestly, we talking about legacy this season, and we understand now, or beginning to understand, that it's not going to be something that we see. Our legacy is literally going to happen hundreds of years after our existence is gone, where our names are in places and spaces where people are like, oh, okay, the Hicks. Oh yeah, the Hicks. We know the Hicks, which is, and so passing that on, and the importance of that, how, talk about that a little bit with you and, now you're 2.
Honestly, I just hope that my husband and I are great examples. I'm not going to force anything onto them. My practices, my faith, the things that I do, I'm not going to force anything onto them. However, I do hope they see mommy and daddy wake up every day. We go to work. I do hope they see that we are trying our best. And my whole goal with my children is to create just good people, just good people, whatever that may look like. I just want them to be good people.
That's important.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's important for them to have their own. And if their own is something that they can pick up from mommy and daddy, that's cool too. Because I know my kids, they saucy, they can create their own little, little sauce to it. So whatever it is they want to do, I'm down for it. I'm that mama.
That's beautiful, and I think that's part of, like our generation where we kind of see how it was done right before us, and then how it was done right before us. Like we saw how our grandparents did things. We saw how our parents did things. We pick and choose the things that were good. And now we're, it's just progress and passion, and a lot more passion is sprinkled in now. Whereas before, passion kind of took a back seat. So it's always refreshing to see you and your husband and your family are definitely what I would consider model citizens. So, continue on what you're doing in any way that we can help you, expand your platforms and your businesses. We are more than willing to help and are willing and able. So with that being said, now it's plug time. You've plugged a lot of people through here, but now it's time to plug you. You've named three entities, but how can our listeners and our viewers, because this video will be on Spotify exclusively, how can they find you on social media, the web, and anywhere else?
Okay, so boom, I just published my own literature loving homegirls guided reading book. And you can find that on Samco by Hicks, along with my enamel lapel pens, books, and some novelty gifts. Also some healing crystals, because I am Black Girl Magic. Okay. Oh. On top of that, for services like pop-up events, and I'm going to start a new mindful society up under the House of Hicks. Those are just services for our yogis and things of that nature. You can find that under houseofhicksllc.com. And this summer, hopefully, we'll get the energy off the ground. We're still working some things out with some partnerships, but you can find that on Instagram as of right now. And if you go to houseofhicksllc.com, you can also go to the website through that website. So, yeah. Oh, this Sunday, we're about to have the ultimate, oh my gosh, I've been getting some really dope feedback. And you're not in town, right?
No, I'm not.
Oh man. But women's.
I got you. It'll be in Montgomery, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got people everywhere. I'm from down there. I have people pull up. But go ahead. Yes, tell us when it's March 20th. 2022.
From 11 to 4 at the Mission House, 461 South Court Street, Montgomery, Alabama, 36104. It's the Women's History Pop-Up event. We're celebrating women-owned businesses. And honestly, the universe knew what they wanted to be done, because it's a lineup of some Black women. I opened up the door for whomever, and it's some dope Black women, We have Lace by Leah, Craft Me Up Creations, Yo Mama, she from California, Chloe. We got Yo Mama, we have Ambiance by Lovey, which is Love Tea. We have my mom. She's a therapist. She's going to have some art therapy. We have my homegirl Boss Mom Enterprise. We have Salt Mixer. She's new. I hope I'm naming everybody. Two Chill Tea, the Quirky Mac. The collab, they're gonna come through. The collab, they're not necessarily.
Shout out to my homegirl.
Yeah, dope. They from one of them is from Shorter, the other is from Dothan. Shout out to Daphne and Ossie. They're gonna be there. Did I name everybody? Last in Chica, she's gonna be there. Oh, we got a lot of people there.
Yeah, you do.
Tanika from Tuskegee, she's on the decorations. DJ Big Show? He's on the ones and the twos. So I'm excited. We're gonna have a mocktail. I'm excited.
Rock Drinks making the mocktails?
No, I have someone else coming.
Oh no, that's I'm thinking about, because Daphne's doing collabs. They're doing the Teen Girl Summit. I see.
Yeah, that's this Saturday.
That's the other thing about, all of y'all. And like I said, have dope Black women around. Me and Daphne have done business together for years. And Daphne's known me since Daphne's known me since I was maybe 8 years old. So that's the homie. But
She
the
dope.
persistence and the business acumen of like people like you and people like Daphne, where it's like, I'm not going to open up Facebook and Instagram and not see what y'all got going on. And obviously I curate my timeline and my algorithm that I don't want to see the foolishness. I want to see the passion and the positivity. And y'all are definitely a consistent in terms of that. So I appreciate what y'all do. And we'll post all of the information for your pop-up March 20th in Montgomery at the Mission House, 461 Court Street, Montgomery, Alabama. If you are in the area, buy from a Black woman, and that's trademarked probably with the other people, with the other company. But I'm telling you, buy from a Black woman at the Mission House on March 20th, 2022, 461 Court Street. It's going to be a lot of dope vendors and entrepreneurs, networking opportunities. I know for a fact that it will be. So we'll post it in the description. So once again, Miss Stevie Rae Hicks, entrepreneur and educator, owner and proprietor of House of Hicks LLC, Sound Code by Hicks, and the Energy. And that's inner, the letter G, and the G stands for greatness. I'm glad we figured that out.
I mean, how you take it, how you want it. Look, I'm from LA. So however you want to take it there. But it's the energy.
Exactly. So this episode has been brought to you by LaFlight 87. Get you some, LaFlight87.com, the spirit of fresh flight. Shout out once again to my illustrious co-host, Dr. Ajamu Loving, PhD and CFP. Those letters mean something, so go look it up. And Mr. Destrian Wells of D. Wells Consulting. We'll catch y'all in the next episode, whether it be all three or just me and somebody else having a casual convo here at Cocktail Convos, presented to you by BREADren Podcast. We love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Peace.